February 11th Collier County Commission meeting. Ms. Patterson, we'll start off with the invocation and pledge.
Yes, sir. The invocation today will be led by Pastor James Baird of Covenant Church of Naples, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Deb and Alan Silver, founders of Gulf Coast Veterans and Friends.
My great privilege today to invoke the blessing of the Lord Jesus Christ for this distinguished body. Let's bow our heads together. Dear Lord, the great creator and maker of heaven and earth, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, today we come to you with hearts grateful for the institution of government. We thank you that you did not create man to be alone, but that you desired for us to live a life filled with flourishing in community. And that, as your word says, you have instituted governing authorities, that they would be your servants for our good. And so I pray for these commissioners that you would open their eyes and hearts to serve you well into this great calling into which that you've called them. Lord, that you would give them goodness, hearts that seek the best interest of the community, that you would give them wisdom and prudence, that they would find the best means to secure the good of this community, and that you would give them strength and fortitude, that they would have the ability and the perseverance to always seek what is best for all of us. And Lord, I also pray that you would give them and build them up in faith, that they would wear your royal robes, the righteousness of the Lord Jesus Christ, that they might not be distracted or pulled aside left or to the right into ways that are contrary to your character. And Lord, we pray also that you would be with the people of Collier County, that we would submit to their rulings, that we would honor them because you have given them their authority, and by honoring them, we honor you. And so today we ask for all of these things in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've taken the liberty of asking our visitors to say a few words about the things that they do for veterans. I've attended some of their breakfast meetings on Saturday mornings, and it's a wonderful thing for the veterans. And so if you would tell us a little bit about that. And
thank you, Commissioners. Thanks for allowing us to be here. Deb and I and a group of others founded Gulf Coast Veterans and Friends in 2017. We started with a Mr. Coffee and a dozen donuts at a fire station in North Naples, and since then we've grown and we serve breakfast. That was our main function every Saturday morning, and currently we operate out of Fleischman Park every Saturday that the park is open, and we serve breakfast to between 50 and 100 veterans every week, every Saturday morning from 10 to noon. We have a lot of World War II veterans, Korean veterans, and after that as well. Besides breakfast, we also find time to help those who need mobility devices. We help people with scooters. We help people with wheelchairs. We also help people in times of need during hurricanes. We provide help getting food, clothing, and even shelter when needed. So that's a little bit about Gulf Coast Veterans and Friends, and I thank you so much.
if you could do one more thing, if you'd state your name for the record, just so we have that on the record.
I'm Alan Silver, and this is Deb Silver.
And I wanted them to spend just a moment, because I've attended, as I said, several of the breakfast meetings on Saturday mornings, and it's wonderful to see 80 to 100 veterans. I've talked to numerous World War II veterans at those events, some of which were 100 years old, 102 years old, and so you do a great service. I just wanted the people to understand that and know that, so thank you.
Can I get a little plug in before they go?
Sure, absolutely.
Just to say it out loud, we're in the process, there is a very active veterans organization in Ave Maria, and we're in the process of establishing one over in Immokalee. So, and I've reached out to our Veterans Affairs Department to find a list of veterans within Immokalee, then bring them in for an organizational meeting and set that up. So any assistance from your membership that you can assist us with would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for all that you do.
Business card for you, so you can get in touch with us.
Say that again,
We'll leave our business card,
please.
so you can
Thank
reach out to us.
Leave it with her or Troy, either one. Thank you.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me get that plug in.
We'll move on to the agenda and minutes. Approval of today's regular consent and summary agenda.
Commissioners, we do need a motion to allow Commissioner Hall to participate by phone.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to allow approval.
Should we do that?
Yes. We don't have to agree to do it. We do have to have the motion in the second. We
Sorry,
don't,
just put them on mute.
we don't have to vote in favor of it. We have a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Commissioner Hall, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I'm right here.
All right.
Thanks.
Welcome. Glad that you're able to participate this morning.
Commissioners,
Chairman.
we do have one agenda change that I need to read into the record before we move on to your disclosures and any other changes. This is a move item 16A7 to 11B. This is a recommendation to approve an agreement for sale and purchase under the Conservation Collier Land Acquisition Program with one Don Charles Disco, Andrea Hugg, known as Andrea Elaine Mulanix, and Donna Ruth Dusko for a 1.14 acre parcel at a cost of $25,100, and two, Monica Cecile Fish for a 1.14 acre parcel at a cost of $36,480 for a total cost not to exceed $64,640 inclusive of closing costs. This is being moved to the regular agenda at Commissioner McDaniel's request. We also have a time certain item today, item 5A, to be heard at 9:30 a.m., and this is a Collier County Immigration Enforcement update by our Sheriff's Office. We have court reporter breaks scheduled for 10:30 and 2:50. With that, County Attorney.
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioners ex parte and disclosures on the consent and summary and any further changes.
Mr. Kowal?
I have no changes and no ex partes.
Commissioner McDaniel?
Same with me, sir.
Commissioner LaCastro?
Same for me, no changes, no ex parte.
Commissioner Hall, any changes?
No changes and no ex parte. Thanks.
All right, I have no changes and no ex parte as well. Then we need a motion to approve today's regular consent and summary agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. Seeing any registered speakers?
Not for consent or summary, sir, no.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Passes unanimously.
Item 2A is approval of the January 14th, 2025 BCC minutes.
Move for approval.
We have a motion. Is there a
Second.
second? We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of January 14, 2025. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Passes unanimously. Just before we go to awards and recognitions, I want to mention one thing that occurred yesterday, just so the board is up to speed. We had a groundbreaking yesterday for the Gate Golf Course at the old Golden Gate Golf Course. A tremendous ceremony, a lot of people there, a lot of people from Golden Gate, of course. And then in the evening, there was another sort of a reception in honoring the folks that are developing the First Tee project. There was also a groundbreaking for the First Tee project, which I think all of us are familiar with. That's an organization that strives to provide our children with the lessons learned from golf so that they can become better and productive citizens and adults. It was a great day, and I just wanted the board to know that things are moving along very well with those two projects, the First Tee project and the golf course project. I'm going to ask the folks that are developing those two projects to make a presentation to the County Commission at our first meeting in March, just so that the public's aware of that and you have a better understanding of everything that's going on there. Let's move on then to awards and recognitions.
Yes, sir. That actually brings us to proclamations. Item 4A is a proclamation recognizing exceptional achievements of domestic animal services volunteers to be accepted by Domestic Animal Services Director Meredith McLean of volunteers and staff. Congratulations.
And before they come up, let me take the opportunity. I want to read this proclamation because we have a lot of volunteers here. It's a little different than our normal procedure, but this, I think, is very special. They save this community literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in cost by all of the volunteer work they do. So let me just spend just a couple minutes reading this. Proclamation. Whereas the dedicated volunteers of DAS work tirelessly to facilitate the adoption of homeless animals, demonstrating an unwavering commitment to their health and welfare. And whereas DAS volunteers come to care for the animals in all weather conditions, including heat, rain, wind, and ensuring that every animal receives the exercise and socialization they need. And whereas DAS volunteers open their homes to foster animals requiring medical attention, recovering from surgery, stress relief, and even hospice care. And whereas DAS volunteers invest significant time with potential adopters to ensure the best match for both the pet and the family. And whereas DAS volunteers provide invaluable assistance in our veterinary clinic, helping with medications, surgical preparations, and overall care of the most needy. And whereas DAS volunteers transport animals to rescues across Florida and nationally, expanding their chances for a better future. And whereas DAS volunteers offer shadow training to new volunteers after orientation, welcome them into the DAS volunteer family. And whereas DAS volunteers play a crucial role in providing enrichment, toys, grooming, and care for all animals at DAS. They support not only those in our adoption areas, but also underage animals in the nursery and nervous animals in our decompression spaces. And whereas DAS volunteers assist with events and education outreach, assisting the Collier County community and promoting domestic animal services, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Collier County, Florida, that the board extends its heartfelt congratulations to the DAS volunteers. May they be recognized as exemplary volunteers who consistently go above and beyond to find loving homes for homeless animals. Done in order this day, February 11th, 2025, Board of County Commissioners, Bert Saunders, Chairman. Members, I make a motion that we approve this proclamation. I realize that we're going to put them all as a group, but this is, for me, is very special. So I make a motion that we approve this proclamation.
Second.
Second, third.
All right, we have a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have a whole lot of volunteers here. We need to take a few photographs and present this proclamation.
Do you want to do the FC Naples one? Because that one's kind of, the FC Naples one, that one's kind of special. It's your call.
All right.
Because I got a lot of people here.
All right. All right.
Hi guys. Yes. Yeah, you won't be in the photo, so just squeeze in a little bit. Ready? Here we go. We're gonna smile. Sir in the back, if you can peek in between us. A little more head.
You should have like a cutout when somebody's absent.
Here we go. Ready? Make sure that you kind of. Here we go. We're gonna smile on three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'll give you 1 second. And smile. And one more.
No battery. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, yes, Meredith, if you'd like to say a few words, and we also have the chairman of our DAS Advisory Committee that would like to say a few words.
Sure. You want to go first? No. Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. I want to take a moment and recognize the incredible volunteers who dedicate their time and, more importantly, their hearts to Collier County Domestic Animal Services. Our volunteers contribute nearly 15,000 hours a year, helping us care for animals, support adoptions, and provide critical needs to our community. Many of them aren't here today because they're out doing what they do best, helping us run our shelter and care for the animals who need us. As I always say, no good animal shelter runs without our volunteers, and we truly couldn't do this job without you guys. On behalf of our staff and the animals, thank you for your unwavering dedication and compassion.
Good morning, Commissioners, Ms. Patterson. My name is Lori Harris. I'm the chairman of the Domestic Animal Services Advisory Board, and that has been the honor of my life. These volunteers are above and beyond the best. I want to thank the commissioners for your time and dedication to domestic animal services. It's been incredible. To Ms. Patterson, Mr. French, I know he's in the back, the support has been beyond my wildest dreams. So I thank you all. Every day is more progress. Look forward to continuing it. And last but not least, to Patty Toulet. Patty and her husband, Michelle, they have been, my goodness, the longest volunteers that I'm aware of. And Patty put this all together today. So thank you all. It's very appreciated.
Item 4B is a proclamation designating March 8th, 2025 as FC Naples Day, to be accepted by Roberto Moreno, Chief Executive Officer, FC Naples. Congratulations.
I think I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation as well. And I know that's a little out of our normal procedure, but this soccer team and what we're doing at the Paradise Coast facility is so special for this community that I think it's important for the community to hear what we're doing and to also recognize the team. So let me spend just a couple minutes here. Whereas FC Naples is a cornerstone of Collier County's growing enthusiasm for soccer, providing a platform for players, fans, and the community to unite around the beautiful game. And whereas March 8th, 2025, marks the historic date of FC Naples' inaugural game, representing not only the beginning of a new era for local sports, but also a testament to the community's commitment to fostering athletic excellence. And whereas FC Naples strives to inspire young athletes in Collier County and beyond by promoting teamwork, discipline, and sportsmanship, serving as a beacon of opportunity and a source of pride for our youth. And whereas the establishment of FC Naples has already sparked local economic growth by creating jobs, supporting small businesses, and attracting visitors to Collier County. And whereas the club's vision extends beyond the field with a focus on engaging in charitable endeavors, strengthening community ties, and providing cultural enrichment through the sport of soccer. And whereas the unwavering support of fans, sponsors, and local leaders has been instrumental in turning the team of FC Naples into a reality. And whereas the incredible encouragement and collaboration from the Collier County Commissioners and local government have been pivotal in helping FC Naples thrive, reflecting their dedication to promoting community initiatives and enhancing local opportunities. And whereas FC Naples represents the diversity and vibrancy of Collier County, reflecting the spirit and unity of our residents, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Collier County, Florida, that March 8th, 2025 be designated as FC Naples Day, done in order this 11th day of February 2025, Board of County Commissioners, Collier County, Florida, Bert Saunders, Chairman. I'd like to present this to Mr. Moreno and the team. And I'd like to make a motion to approve this proclamation.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a
Second.
second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Very good. If we could have the team and Mr.
Team,
Moreno
come
come
on
up.
and
Flying the colors.
Yep.
How'd that happen?
Go team.
Good morning, young man. How are you?
How you doing?
We get some guy that's taller.
Yeah. Put the tall dude right in the middle. Good luck this year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Oh, looky there. Say. Looky there. Nice.
Not sure how we can do that. We did it like this.
You guys want to hold the flag in front?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold it down in front of the photo.
Okay, back row, if you guys can go in between, two people in the front, that way I can see your face. And then Commissioner Saunders, if you can,
We'll get Commissioner Saunders a piece of paper to stand on.
this is shot. Ready, guys? We're gonna smile on three. 1, 2, 3. Smiling.
Keep smiling.
And we're gonna do one more. Very good, thank you.
Don't let everybody leave just yet. The-
Commissioners, thank you so much for this honor. Commissioner Saunders, Commissioner Castro, McDaniel, Commissioner Hall, Commissioner Kowal. It's an honor to be here. We wouldn't be here without you guys. It feels crazy that it was just over a year ago that we were standing here approving the concept of this team, and now we're standing here with a full squad of 23 young, amazing men. They're going to represent Collier County all over the United States really well. I want to also take a moment to thank Ms. Patterson and her team, Mr. French, Jamie Cook, Eric, Adrian Moses, of course. Thank you so much for your support in making this happen. One thing I can guarantee you is we're going to represent this county extremely well. We're going to give it all on the field. And as a community team, like we've said since day one, we're going to connect with the community, inspire the youth, and be that beacon of light that everybody can look up to. So thank you so much for this proclamation and for all your support.
Thank you. And one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of highlight this a little bit is we're talking about building some more fields at the Paradise Coast thing, and I think this is a good example of what that facility brings to this community, what it can bring to us in the future, and the fact that we do need to build a few more fields out there to accommodate you guys, but also to, more importantly, accommodate our community and their needs for soccer fields. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Coach Poland.
Thank you. Just wanted to briefly thank you guys for your support. Obviously, we are, as a soccer team, nothing without the support of the community that we play in. So we appreciate that support, and the guys are very excited to get to represent this community proudly, not just here in Naples, but also across the nation, wearing our badge and showing the country of America who FC Naples and who Collier County are. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4C is a proclamation designating February 27th, 2025 as League of Women Voters Day in Collier County, to be accepted by Diane Preston Moore, President of the League of Women Voters of Collier County. Congratulations.
And I'll go ahead and, just so no one feels slighted at all, let me go ahead and read this. This is not our normal procedure, but we've had some very special proclamations today. So let me go ahead and read this this is very short. Whereas February 14, 2025 marks the 105th anniversary of the founding of the League of Women Voters of the United States. And whereas since its founding in 1920, the League of Women Voters has worked to be a voice for citizens and a force for change, has helped generations of voters better understand the structure and function of government, and has worked to achieve policies that promote good government. And whereas February 27, 2025 marks the 50th anniversary of the founding of the League of Women Voters of Collier County, and whereas LWVCC has served Collier County by studying social, educational, environmental issues, by advocating for change within those areas, by providing nonpartisan election information on candidates and issues, by organizing public candidate forums, by conducting voter registration drives, and by working to achieve government policies that promote the public interest. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Collier County, Florida, that February 27, 2025 be designated as League of Women Voters Day in Collier County. Done in order this 11th day of February 2025. Board of County Commissioners, Collier County, Florida, Bert Saunders, Chairman. And so I'll make a motion to approve this proclamation as well.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passed unanimously. And we'd like to go ahead and present this proclamation.
Congratulations.
Good morning.
Oh, they have some hidden in the crowd. Where are these people coming from? Congratulations.
Good morning. Hallway stage.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Okay, some matching t-shirt.
Hey. Hi, Katie. Very nice to meet you. Oh, okay. I'm your commissioner.
I am too. You just can't vote for me. Just so you know. I am your commissioner.
You don't want to vote for him anyway. He's the. No, not true.
The rumor's out.
What?
Yeah, wider you go.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, ladies.
I did want to say just a couple of words. I am Diane Preston Moore, President of the League of Women Voters of Collier County, and it's really an honor today to be here to represent the League as we celebrate our 50th anniversary here in Collier County. We're really grateful to you, to the Board of Commissioners, for issuing this proclamation in recognition of our milestone. They say that every journey begins with a single step, and the League's first step was taken in 1975 when 3 visionary Naples City Council women saw a need in Collier County for the League of Women Voters. Since then, the League's core mission has always been to educate and empower voters. Over the past 5 decades, we've dedicated ourselves to providing resources like voter guides and hosting candidate forums, some of which you've all participated in, ensuring that voters in Collier County have a clearer understanding of the candidates and their platforms. And we recognize how vital it is for individuals to take part in government by running for public office. And so we thank you for your commitment to that work. We're a volunteer organization. We don't have any paid staff, but we encourage informed and active participation in government. We believe that understanding how government works helps ensure that democracy thrives. So for 45 years, we've proudly co-sponsored the Know Your County Government program, which introduces 30 to 40 high school students each year to the inner workings of our county government. One highlight of that program is Lunch with the Commissioners. It leaves a lasting impression on these future leaders, and you can look forward to meeting those students at the end of March. The League is nonpartisan. We do not support or oppose candidates or political parties, but our work is political in the sense that it directly relates to government. We take positions on issues only after thorough study and consensus among our members. And while our positions sometimes align with those of the Commission, there are times when our views differ. When we speak, though, whether we're supporting or opposing a measure, we try to do so in a fact-based, civil, and respectful manner. And that's what makes democracy great. The ability to respectfully and civilly disagree on positions without fear of repercussions for our viewpoint. Over the last 50 years, much has changed in our county. But one thing that remains constant is that the league will continue to be a voice for informed and engaged citizens, and I'm sure we'll be back here soon working to strengthen our community. So thank you again for your support and for the opportunity to be here today.
Commissioners, let's take our last proclamation before we go to our 9:30 time certain. Item 4D is a proclamation designating February 16th through 22nd, 2025 as Engineers Week in Collier County, to be accepted by Kevin Dowdy, Florida Engineering Society Calusa chapter member. Congratulations.
Engineers, they just want to get the hell out of here. He's like, I got stuff I got to do.
Go build something.
Every engineer getting line. It's a very linear profession.
It's any.
I did. Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Norman Trebilcock, and I am a past president of the Florida Engineering Society Calusa chapter, which includes Collier County and 4 other Southwest Florida counties. My local engineering and planning firm is Trebilcock Consulting Solutions, and my technical expertise is in transportation and illuminating or lighting engineering. My degrees in civil engineering and public works engineering from the University of Miami and University of Florida. We'd like to thank you, the board, of county commissioners, staff, and our county manager for this proclamation. Engineering is often called an invisible or stealth profession. The stereotypical engineer is quiet and reserved. However, everything in our civilized society is linked to engineering as we work behind the scenes in support. Engineers come from many walks of life, and our objective problem-solving approach is often welcomed throughout society, including the political arena. Xi Jinping, the leader of China, is a chemical engineer. Probably not the best example, engineer example, but that piece of trivia might help you with a Jeopardy question one day. We recently mourned the loss of our 39th president, Jimmy Carter, who studied engineering. Today, our society is very complicated, and we have many diverse disciplines of engineering. There is one thing all engineers have in common: we use math and science to solve real-world problems. A core value of all engineers is that we shall hold paramount the health, safety, and welfare of the public. So no matter who we're working for, the public is our ultimate client, which keeps us on the right side of things when we stick to that core value. Thanks again, and we're honored to receive this proclamation. Appreciate it.
Commissioners, if we could get a motion to accept the last proclamation, please.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Commissioners, that brings us to our 9:30 time certain. Item 5A. This is a Collier County Immigration Enforcement update, and we do have members from our sheriff's office here, so I'll invite them to the podium to begin the presentation.
Sheriff.
Morning, Commissioners. Kevin Rambos, Collier County Sheriff. Thank you for the invitation to come and give you an update on immigration enforcement activities in Collier County, what they are, and as importantly, what they are not. First, I'd like to tell you this is probably a good time for an update. I serve on the National Sheriff's Association Border Security Committee. We just held a meeting in Washington, D.C. last week. Had a confidential and informational brief from Mr. Homan, as well as other border security, border patrol officials. So we've got really a lot of information. We've seen a lot in the world, the nation, the state with regard to immigration operations, immigration enforcement, immigration changes. But I will tell you that for 17 years, we have had a very successful program here in Collier County. And that will not change for the negative, for sure. I will tell you what we may be able to do as we move forward to improve and enhance the program. But quite frankly, we're not going to be doing anything different than we haven't always been doing. And I will tell you that we have the longest standing, most productive, and flagship recognized 287G program in the nation. Now, there are only 60 current organizations that have this program. If you think to all the sheriff's offices throughout the nation, there are more than 3,000 of them. There are more than 18,000 law enforcement agencies. So it is somewhat rare, but I will tell you that the success of our program, the inspections that we've got to go through from the federal government, the accomplishments that we have seen, and I'm going to give you some of that background, really represents the excellent leadership team that we have right here in the Collier County Sheriff's Office. And that starts with the colonel and goes right down to those that operate the system in our jail. I also want to thank you for your support over the years for what we're doing and what we need, because without your support, and really without a lot of support from the community, because when we get a chance to go out to the community and explain what our program does here, we get a lot of recognition for removing criminals from Collier County. And essentially that's the important part of this whole discussion today. So 287G, many people may not know. I'm going to try and keep this as simple as we can. It really represents a section of federal law which enables local law enforcement to participate with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to receive immigration authority at the law enforcement level. And that's exactly what we do. There are two different components of that. One is the jail model and one is the enforcement model. We started with both of those 17 years ago. At some point around 2012, our memorandum of agreement was getting near its end, and the current administration at that time did not want to renew any of those agreements. So we are no longer involved in the law enforcement element, but I will talk a little bit about that when we get there and let you know where we'd like to go. So we do have the jail model. That's what we're currently operating. And, you know, we also have an IGSA agreement with ICE, and that enables us to hold immigration prisoners that ICE picks up and then transport them to Chrome Avenue detention, where everyone gets due process under the law before a decision is made as to what to do in their individual cases. So as far as the 287G program goes in Collier County, everyone that gets arrested and is brought into the jail for committing a crime against our residents, our neighbors, our businesses, and one another are all asked if they are a resident of the United States. That's where it all begins. If they are not, or they cannot prove it, we've got a legal responsibility to determine who is in our jail, who is in your jail, because we have all the liability that comes with that. So we will do backgrounds and all the different service capabilities and computer information that we can investigate. But the 287G program, after a month's worth of training, enables our intake deputies, those who do the booking predominantly, to look at determining how this individual is here in this country. And they actually build a profile and a case with regard to their status. Once they do that, they have the ability to place a detainer. A detainer, for all intents and purposes, is an administrative hold. We ship those to Immigrations and Customs Enforcement in Fort Myers. They review it. If it meets the criteria for their processes, and every administration over the last 16 years has had a little different criteria and process. We've always met whatever the criteria was during those different administrations. They will send that information back, and if the subject is about to be released back out into the public, or if they have finished their term as prescribed by the court, then that detainer will be placed. That person will be then moved without going back into the public over to the Chrome Avenue Detention Center for an immigration hearing. So it's a very simple process. I will tell you it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to do that, and it makes a significant difference, because over the last 17 years, we have placed over 11,500 detainers. Of those, 8,500 individuals, criminals, committing crimes in our community, have been turned over to ICE, and 7,500 plus have been removed back to their home country once their sentences have been fulfilled. That's a pretty significant set of statistics. And you know, what I find when I talk to a lot of the public is, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, you want to live in a safe neighborhood, a safe community. You don't want to be threatened by domestic violence, by drugs, by burglaries to your home. Everybody wants the same thing, and that's exactly what we want. So we invite everybody here the right way. And if you want to visit, if you want to live, if you want to work, there are ways to do that, and we assist those people that want to do it, and many people are doing it the right way. If you're coming here to commit crimes, we really don't want you to be here. Really, it's as simple as that. The law enforcement model is a little bit different in that in the past we could look at individuals who either came into this country with a background of criminality. We can do background searches, again, with all the databases that allow us to do that. If we can put together a background of previous gang membership, previous felony arrests, illegal entry into the country together as a package, that's what the law enforcement model is all about, that we look at people who are here with criminal backgrounds and have the potential for committing additional crimes in our community. We would then send those to ICE. They would review them and put them through the same process as I just explained. So that element, the law enforcement model, we are asking and have already asked Mr. Homan to give us authority to go back into that system and make those cases. So in order to start that, we are not waiting for any of this. With changes in administration, we started notifying ICE and Mr. Homan about what directions we felt that we wanted to do. We let him know that we wanted to have the investigative program back. We identified 485 potential candidates for backgrounding and investigation. We don't know how many of those are still remain in Collier County, but they all had a link to Collier County. So we've gotten that all started. We've talked to the Florida Sheriff's Association. We've talked to at the state level. At the same time, we provided you information last month with regard to immigration programming here in Collier County. We did our legislative delegation as well. So we have really tried to update everybody on where we are at. And as things move forward at the national and the state level, and there's a lot of discussion there, and you know, a lot of people are asking me well in advance of seeing legislation, well, what's our position? And it's very clear. We're going to wait to see what the legislature or what changes at the federal government may impact what we're doing. I think the big thing is it's not going to impact what we're doing negatively. It will provide us an opportunity to expand our programming, and that's what we're looking at. We're also going to look at the IGSA. You know, we have in Immokalee right now a facility that fortunately is not being used like it used to be used. If you think about 2007, just prior to going into this program, we had 1,251 inmates in our jail system between the Naples Jail Center and the Immokalee Jail Center. Any given day today, our average daily population is 750 plus or minus. We've been below 700. And certainly the 287G program is a part of that. There are two other elements that are a significant part of that as well. Some of the programs we've been here to talk to you about, our unified policing program that was created right here in Collier County and has been spread nationwide for use and review. But if you think about why we even looked at this, back in 2007, we found that about 1/3 of our inmates self-admitted to being here in this country illegally after having committed a crime in Collier County and being arrested. So that really caused us to think about, you know, what is the cost of that? What is the cost to victimization? What is the cost to operations? In a sense, we're paying a lot of money for all that. And we wondered if there wasn't an alternative that we could use. And virtually that's how we got to the point of getting involved in 287G to begin with. Of those individuals that we have dealt with, there have been over 60,000 individual charges that are assessed to those individuals that we have dealt with. Some of them they have brought to us from other communities. They've committed a crime, they've come here, they've committed another crime, and we have totaled them all together. That's an average of 1 felony and 4 misdemeanors per individual that we have put through our 287G program. So we're not talking about good, hardworking people that want to be here for a better life. We're talking about people that are taking advantage of our residents in Collier County. That is really very, very important. They're involved in everything from domestic violence to child molestation to aggravated battery to battery on law enforcement. We've got very many specific cases that we could bring to you. Again, it's not everybody that's here, but the people that our program deals with are the people that need really to be dealt with. So I'll wrap it up and then opportunity for some questions. Where we want to go. We want to maintain the 287G program jail portion. We've made an official request of ICE to reinstate the law enforcement model and put that back in place. We've made an official request to expand the IGSA program for housing. Along with that comes our ability to negotiate with the federal government with regard to reimbursements for those individuals that we hold. So that's not going to be paid for by our taxpayers. We're going to look at what it takes for IJC to be made into a holding facility. Up until now, and up until the briefing that I got in Washington, D.C., there's a whole set of requirements to hold longer than 72 hours with regard to federal law. Mr. Homan, along with the administration, very clearly said, you know, I don't know why we're making you live to a higher standard. If a resident in your community gets arrested and goes to your jail and you operate within the state's mandates for operation, and I can tell you we exceed all of those. We have 7 accreditations, 2 of them in our jail system. We operate under best practices. They don't see any reason why they have to throw on a bunch of inspections and more requirements to house people that have committed crimes. So we think that that will be something that will be approved. And the good thing is, I would like to do this all within our existing budget. So we're not looking at any other costs. The costs to operate now were included in varying degrees of training. The 15 individuals that look at backgrounds, they are actually intake deputies who are here to book prisoners anyway. So we are looking for what opportunities there are to make our system better. And you know, the other thing I get asked a lot is, well, you know, we're just looking at one country of origin for people. We have 70 different countries of origin over this time. And certainly Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, you know, there are more in that category, but we have Russia to China in who we're dealing with. So we have a lot of people that come through the system. I will tell you that it is increasing. There are only 3 other of these systems operating in Florida. So I think we're going to be asked to participate, at least with holding, as we move forward.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Because of your service and, of course, the commitment of this board in terms of funding, we live in the safest community in Florida, one of the safest, if not the safest in the country. And that's because of your efforts, the men and women in law enforcement. And, of course, we can take a little bit of credit because we do provide the funding, and we've never said no to you. And I mention that only because if you do need more money, I'm sure that this board will find a way to get it to you, because we've all said repeatedly there's nothing more important in terms of government services than keeping our citizens safe from crime and violence. That's number one. And so thank you for what you have accomplished and what the men and women in your department and your office have accomplished. Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank you, Sheriff, for coming in today and giving the details you gave, and you know how clear in your explanation of how the program works and what's your vision for the program, and of course the success of the program in the past 17 years. I think it's important that the community knows that, you know, because there are some stigma out there that, you know, there's people hiding in the shadows because they're freaked out that this is, you know, going to be some sort of massive gathering of immigrants and sending them back to their country of origin, which is the farthest thing from that. These are true criminals that have already either committed crimes or have records of committing crimes, or are documented gang members from documented gangs that known nationwide. And these are typically the ones that end up on their own, you know, actions by getting caught up in the system by committing crimes here in Collier County. So by their own actions, their own choices made on that day during committing a crime ends up in our jail. And that's how the process starts. And I want people to understand that this is not going around sweeping up people from their homes and their schools. And, you know, I felt it was important that, you know, that you definitely, you know, stressed that today. And the reason I brought some of this up in the last board meeting, because I was chairing the Public Safety Committee meeting a few weeks back. I had the opportunity to talk to Colonel Bloom, Chief Roberts, and Captain Harmon. And at that time, we kind of had an understanding what the governor was coming forward with legislation. And knowing from my own history, knowing that, I think at the time back in 2007, 2008 or 9 or whatever, I think it was probably only a handful of agencies that were actually participating in the state of Florida. And I can remember, how Chrome was stressed even back then, when they finally got their actual paperwork to be held and transported to Chrome for their hearing. And then knowing kind of in the background that the governor was looking at all 67 counties participating, it's kind of like sent a light bulb off in my head that maybe we need to get ahead of this, before it's too late. And knowing that, our average intake is around 750, 760 on a daily basis in our jail facility right now, that could have went up. And it could change the time we may have to hold these people within our own facility. And that's why I felt, that your staff and you guys coming here today and us having this, kind of briefing and conversation, because I wanted to have some information shared with my colleagues here, because we're going to be going to Tallahassee next week. And I didn't know if it was going to change. But even though, like now we know that the legislators and the governor did not agree, and it kind of went a different direction. But it didn't change the fact that I think even in their language that the counties will participate in the jail side of it. And Chrome probably being the only receiving center that I know of, that could be a long-term time of us holding these individuals until they get their opportunity to be transported to Chrome. So that's why I wanted to make sure that, that the rest of the board understood that this could come down to some sort of ask or some sort of money that we might need to get ahead of, or even asking the state, because it's their legislation. So,
yeah, that's a couple of really good points. And I'll go back to even when we started the program, we did a lot of community outreach from the beginning in 2007. We have continued to do that through last week, meeting with individuals and groups throughout the county in the Immokalee area down to the East Naples area, re-informing them, reminding them of what we do here in our community with 287G. And that has been pretty successful. We also always take care of our victims, no matter who you are. We have assisted in providing U visas to criminal victims, and we've probably done the most in the nation, again, to preserve and protect those who reside here in Collier County. So we do that. The storage or the housing, whether temporary or long-term, that is going to be a question. You're absolutely correct. Glades County, for example, had built a facility probably 5-8 years ago. They had to close it down because they didn't have enough inmate operations there. I understand that they are currently working with ICE to determine whether they can open that. So at some point, the system will get overloaded, and we want to make sure that we continue to be able to operate effectively and not be releasing criminals back into the community. That is the bottom line.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Commissioner LoCastro.
Thank you, Chairman. Sheriff, I've got two very specific questions for you, but first I just want to say that, and I've said it here before, in D.C. right now, they're sort of shaking the trees to see where money's being wasted, and that we could debate that or whatnot. But I'll just say, again, whenever we have a budget meeting here, nobody comes more prepared than you. And the pre-briefs that we have from the sheriff's office, whether you need more money or you want to make more investment somewhere, I don't think any of us feel like we ever lack any information. So the one thing that I can say is, and I've said it before, is how much I appreciate the deep dive that your team does. And I don't feel like we're spending money in the sheriff's office. I feel like we're investing it. And it's because of your leadership. And so, that needs to be said in public, that, there's places across this country and even in the state where there's microscopes being put on, law enforcement. And here, I don't think any of us could be more proud of how you've led from the front. And, your deputy, Colonel Bloom, at times when we have something that's maybe at his level, because, you can't get every sort of email and phone call, his instantaneous responses. I'm working 3 different things with him right now. And, I'll send a note thinking, I'll hear it tomorrow, calls me in 5 minutes. And so that doesn't go unnoticed, and leadership starts at the top. So, really admire, how you lead our sheriff's office, and continue that and make that contagious. None of us will be here, forever. 2 very specific questions, really to separate rumor from fact. You brought up that if you responded to an incident, whether it was, at a home, domestic violence, robbery, and the culprit turns out to be here illegally and also maybe has a very significant, criminal record or whatnot. My very specific question, because we get it a lot, is what happens? So you arrest this person, they're here illegally under the current administration, new administration, and some of the things that are trickling down to you. And like you said, you're not waiting for trickle down. You've actually gone up saying we'd like these certain processes and procedures to come back. But just, the short version, if it's possible, you arrest this person, they're here illegally. What under current, the current guidance that you have and the authorities that you have, what happens to that person?
We would be going in under state statute. That's where we get our authority in the street today. We would make an arrest for a state violation. We have no other authority in the street for immigration enforcement. So that person would be secured, transported, booked into the jail. As a part of the booking process, they will go through the 287G interview process. If they fit all the criteria, a detainer would be placed. They would be, if approved, would be transported to Chrome Avenue Detention, go through immigration court for due process, and a decision made as to what the finding will be as to whether they would be released or returned to their home country.
Do you expect something more stringent is coming down that would give you more latitude, or whoever you hand this person over to, it would become a more stringent process? Because basically, like you said, sometimes this person's released with a court date, they're here illegally, and sometimes they're never to be found again. They don't show up in court. Do you perceive something more difficult or stringent happening?
Right now, that's why we are filing detainers on everyone, and we are not releasing them. They go into ICE custody. ICE determines what they do with them.
Right, okay.
That's an administrative process.
Okay. See, it's important for people to hear that. My second question is, we get a lot of reports I saw a big white bus at the Coastland Mall filled with a bunch of people that looked like they were illegals. That's a real world example that Colonel Bloom ran down for me, and it turned out it was American citizens who live in Immokalee who have children who go to school that were shopping at Coastland Mall on free tax day. So that's one example that, we debunked. But even now, we're starting to get, and you are, I'm sure, as well, we saw a plane land at RSW, we saw this, we saw that. Rumor from fact, is there some sort of groundswell of people that are pouring into Collier County that are here illegally, and they're using our county as some dump-off ground, and you've been chasing these white buses and white unmarked airplanes? I'm saying this a little bit as a setup because we kind of know the answer, but social media is full of this stuff. Our email boxes are full of this stuff. Yours is for sure. Help us separate rumor from fact that if that kind of thing is happening or not.
Yeah, we have gotten the same requests to investigate suspicious activities, incidents, people. We do that. We're not seeing a huge influx by busload of people into the community. There is some question about whether people have been transported into the state from elsewhere. That's beyond our jurisdictional area. But we investigate everything that comes in as a potential act of any kind, because, one of the things that we're interested in is human smuggling and human trafficking. And the circumstance that you describe has the potential to come out as one of those two. So we look at everything, but I can tell you we're very pragmatic, we're very professional. We make an evaluation, we work within the authority that we've got. Believe me, if we think there's more of a potential that what we're seeing is a criminal act, we'll request the state attorney for their help. We'll go to the feds for their help if we need it, if we think it's possible.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner McDaniel.
Yeah, and first of all, I want to thank you. It's been an honor to serve with you, and the job that you're doing, as Commissioner Saunders alluded to, is just off the chart. I couldn't be more proud. My question is a little more pointed with regard to the dollar aspect. The weeds have been talking, And I have heard that we haven't really adjusted our fee structures with regard to the holding expenses associated with that. Is there an opportunity, and maybe it's too early in the process, but have we started that exploration to adjust that fee structure?
No, that's a good question because, since we've been in it well before most communities throughout the country, we got in earlier. It is that time to renegotiate fees because of inflation costs of operation, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're preparing numbers to submit to increase those.
Well, and on that note, and we have, Commissioner Saunders shares the same sentiment as I do. I mean, we're well aware of our involvement in this process and the longevity of that. If there is a spread between what we're charging. If my memory serves me correct, it's less than 50% of our actual costs attributable today to what it was in the beginning. Please let us know so that we can at least assist in making up that gap and not burdening our sheriff's department whatsoever.
Thank
you.
Commissioner Hall.
We're hoping we can get it from the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's our goal, not from our taxpayers.
I understand.
Commissioner Hall.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Sheriff, thank you for that update. And I really do. I appreciate so much you focusing on the criminal aspect of what you're doing. But when Trump came into office, he vowed to get rid of illegal immigration, even non-criminally. I know that we've had some discrepancy within the state legislature opposing Governor DeSantis, but recent news is state leadership has gotten together with the governor, and I look to see them pass a super aggressive immigration bill in our state here in within the week probably. My question is, when you find criminal activity or criminal illegals, and you go to them and you find that they're living with non-criminal illegal immigrants, are you under any kind of obligation, or what is your responsibility as the county sheriff to expose the non-criminal illegals as well as the criminal illegals?
Well, currently the authority that we have under 287G thus far, without the law enforcement element, we have no authority regarding anyone else in that situation. So I think we've been following what you have just described with regard to the state level. I presented an overview to the Florida sheriffs about 2 weeks ago Friday night with regard to what we do in Collier County and how beneficial it is. We've also made recommendations to the governor's chief of staff and all of our legislators. So I think what we're waiting to see right now, and like you said, I did hear that something has been drafted, and we will be reviewing that with legal and awaiting what passes. And that may give us different authority, but today we don't have any authority.
Great, that's kind of the answer that I was looking for. So when the state does come together and they do pass that aggressive immigration bill, I think we can. I think you'll have the teeth that you need to enforce it. So thank you.
Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you, Chairman. I thought I was done, but then how my brain works, things pop in every once in a while. But Sheriff, I can't recall. I think it was around 2008 or 2009. The state of Texas, Arizona, they had stiffened up their borders, and which right now we know that is happening right now with the extra manpower and Border Patrol and National Guard troops being dispatched there. So I think if I remember correctly, I think at that time we started to see some more waterborne entry in Florida being a waterborne border state. Are we thinking that this may be something we may be seeing here in the future because of that, again, tightening the border on the land crossings?
Yes, you know, we always look at that. We look at it from a couple of different perspectives. One is drug importation, as you're well aware, that we went through a lot of in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But we are concerned that as the rest of the hard border gets shut down, that there are already transportation routes in place from the Caribbean, particularly to Southwest Florida, and the East Coast as well. So yes, we were looking at that. We are also working with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, who has erected a site with some technology that would help to see people coming on the water border and interdict them at the time. So we're with any changes that are coming from the federal level and the potential for investigation through the law enforcement model, we would like to address more of the water, and we're looking at how to raise some funds to do that. First, we're getting estimates on what it could cost, and it's somewhat significant. Who could we partner with? What grants are available right now through a variety of different organizations that we're a part of? And then how quickly could we put it in place?
You know, we still, I mean, Commissioner LaCastre, we still have the Coast Guard station on Marco, correct? Do we share?
Yes, auxiliary.
Auxiliary. Do they do any enforcement, or are they more water safety?
As far as I know, they're more water safety. However, the Coast Guard does have authority that we do not have to board vessels and take action. So as I was told up in Washington, D.C., all elements, law enforcement elements of the federal government are being called upon to participate. So whether you're an IRS agent or you're out on the border, everybody's coming to take part in making sure that they fulfill their goals and objectives.
Once again, I want to thank you for the great job you and the men and women in the Collier County Sheriff's Office does for these citizens in this county. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Troy, do we have any registered speakers?
No, we don't have speakers for presentations, sir.
Commissioner Castro?
I was just going to add, so the Coast Guard Auxiliary is really robust on Marco, but they don't have any law enforcement authority, but they report. So they're out on the water, they see something, boom. And then the city of Marco Police, over the last couple of years, has robustly added to their water patrol. So they bought several vessels, and they have police officers now that are strictly 100% like water activated, looking for those kind of things. And of course, they can board any vessel that they want. So we've got, you know, impressive coverage in Collier County on the water, that's for sure.
All right, do we have any public petitions? Let's move to that, and then we'll take any public petitions?
No, sir. We do have, really quickly, if we can, the Artist of the Month in the back of the room. In honor of Black History Month, the Collier County Museum presents No Limits, a tribute to Black athletes of Collier County. Sports hold a special place in the hearts of Americans, and Collier County has produced numerous college and professional level athletes and coaches in various sports. The display spotlights several athletes who have worked hard to perform at a high level and to achieve the numerous honors and awards they've received. Did you want to take our public comments before we take a court
I
reporter
want to see if
break?
there are any public comments, and then we'll move on to a court.
We do. We have 2 registered speakers for public comments. First is Ashley Jenkins, and she'll be followed by Joseph Hunt.
And just, Troy, if you could reiterate what the procedure is for public speakers.
Sure. Please begin by stating your name, and remember that you're addressing the commission. Thank you.
And you have 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
All right. Good morning, commissioners and staff. For the record, my name is Ashley Jenkins, Naples City. I provided a packet, which is coming to you again in certified mail, as a notice to enforce the Exhibit A. The most tragic events began with the most innocent of intentions. In 2017, I witnessed the fires sweep our Golden Gate estates. In 2022, this occurred again in North Florida and enhanced the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan, which is referred to as a CEMP for the 2024 Florida publication. For the average reader, this sounds good in theory. Put on your secret no BS decoder hat with a legal dictionary glasses, and you will see a completely different agenda take shape. How did this occur? The consensus estimating conferencing process. This circumvented the Florida State Statute 286.011, the Florida Sunshine Laws. NGOs were able to implement their agenda to escalate their assault on private property rights, all under the Florida Forestry Services. When Florida went to update Florida State Statute 589 and 590, some interesting additions occurred. I would ask everyone to look at 590.15, which is the burden of proof, and it is illegal under 590.28 to recklessly burn lands. Under Florida State Statute 589.011, many interesting provisions were given to the Florida Forestry Service, and this is where you'll see the non-governmental entity intrusion into our governance process, absconding public input from property rights. So I want to nail my 5 asks of you gentlemen this morning very succinctly. The first one is to come up with a water contingency plan. The water was cut in Lahaina and Los Angeles. We don't have time to discuss or debate about that. As jurats, as men who have taken oaths to our county and our country, I'm asking you to cease and desist the NGOs within our county that are espousing fake information about climate change, namely FGCU. I've caught them several times and I'm happy to share with you on email. The fire department needs a resiliency plan ASAP to get smart meters off of properties and restore analog meters. When a surge occurs, I said when, not if, when a surge occurs or a button is pushed, fires will explode countywide. I'm asking each of you to cease and desist the smart city agenda on a state level from Lee County and Miami-Dade, as that will have deleterious effects on our county. And this is the most grave thing I'm asking of you gentlemen. Please get into your staff records and see who is using this consensus-based process. Terminate the staff that are subverting not only our republic, but your authority as board members and the Sunshine Laws. They need to be holding their agendas they're putting into policy at public record for community input. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Your next speaker is Joseph Hunt, and he is your final speaker for item 7, public comment.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's very nice to speak in front of such an esteemed audience. My name is Joseph Hunt. I'm a retired New York City firefighter. I moved to Naples, Florida. I bought a condo in 2015-16. I watched the destruction of New York City. I spoke out at the City Hall meetings, and people chose not to listen to me, so I moved away. Hopefully to a happier place. But unfortunately, I bought a house over by Bayshore, right on the canal, Dream House, 2667 Lakeview Drive, right next to a neighbor named Dr. Herrera, 2649 Lakeview Drive. Now, here I'm speaking, I was listening to everyone else speak. We had the ladies of Concerned Voters. We've had an engineer proclamation. We've had a soccer team. We've had the sheriff speak about human trafficking and crimes committed by immigrants. Dr. Herrera is an immigrant. I think he's from the DREAM Act of 1986. His dream, my nightmare. Long and short of it is, when I bought this house, he altered the seawall. He built, I have a picture of it, right here. Now, I have also a picture, but I'll save time. You can look at the real estate website when I bought the house. The wall was straight. So now we're looking at a slab of cement poured into the canal with a drainage pipe coming off the roof. Now, I said I'm here to speak about red tide. Red tide is not caused by what you'd think would be the pesticides and the weed killer being drained off the land, golf courses especially. It's rather all the plant growth materials, all the fertilizers and all this stuff, especially on the golf courses. Now, this block, Lakeview Drive, is the back door for Windstar. Homeowners Association. I'm sure we're all familiar with this, okay? So we have the Botanical Garden, the Windstar, and then the private residential houses on the canal. Now, I bought the house in 2020 because after watching what was going on with the COVID, I didn't want to listen to an HOA. I have 30 seconds left. Under deposition, I've had Tim Hall, Mark Morin, John Johnson, your senior building inspector. Tim Hall is the one of interest because Red Tide, he signed off on this. Under deposition, he thought this was okay. The wall is draining out. He's the one, his family, I think, has the contracts to sell Windstar. So it's almost in his interest to have a golf course right on the water's edge. So when I'm talking conflict of interest, I'm basically living like almost a whiteploitation film. And under deposition, I have Mr. Big, Mark Morin. He takes care of all the landscaping and all the roads and all the sewers of Collier County.
Mr. Hunt, we're going to need you to wrap up. So
Okay, all right. And well, this is the important thing, and this is why it's wrapped into Tim Hall. Because under deposition, we were questioning my attorney, Augustus Invictus, of Unite the Right fame, who's now been, I've lost representation due to his conviction. But we can obviously see that this is, under deposition too, Herrera has admitted that he doesn't know when this was built, he doesn't know who did it. Hold on, let me get to it.
Right.
Tim Hall signs off on this.
Hang on a second. We limit speakers to 3 minutes. I'm going to give you another 15 or 20 seconds.
Okay, I'll bring it right to the conclusion.
But then I'm going to ask you to wrap it up after that, all right?
Okay. My point is, this Red Tide, because I found out through deposition that Tim Hall is the environmental engineer for 90% of Florida. He's running the botanical gardens. You want to talk about criminality of the lower classes? Let's talk about Carolina Herrera with Tim Hall and them dumping in Windstar, putting the golf course right there. Also, signing off on this, they're tanking the neighborhood to take out the private residents to make it all an HOA over
Mr.
there.
Hunt, thank you for your comments.
All right, and
Mr. Hunt.
Okay,
Thank
you. You have a good day. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's take a court reporter break, come back at 25 minutes to 11. That'll give us about 14 minutes. I think that'll be, is that about right? Yep. All right, 25 minutes to 11. We'll come back. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll take your seats, we're going to reconvene the meeting. We're on I believe we're going to go to item 8A, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Item 8A does require the disclosure provided by the commissioners and also all participants to be sworn in by the court reporter. This is a recommendation to approve a resolution of the Board of Zoning Appeals of Collier County, Florida, providing for the establishment of a conditional use to allow a 150-foot tall monopole communications tower that deviates from the required 150-foot separation from residential property by providing an 84-foot separation from residential property to the north on lands zoned estates and designated residential estates subdistrict within the rural Golden Gate Estates sub-element of the Golden Gate Area Master Plan of the Collier County Growth Management Plan pursuant to sections 2.03.01 B1C12 and 5.05.09 of the Collier County Land Development Code, located on approximately 613 plus minus square feet of a total of 4.99 plus minus acre tract located at 191 Weber Boulevard North in Section 2, Township 49 South, Range 26 East, Collier County, Florida. So first, let's go to the commissioners for your ex parte.
Let me confirm, Commissioner Hall, are you still with us?
Yes, I am, and I have no ex parte on this item.
All right. Commissioner Colwell?
I have nothing either.
Commissioner McDaniel?
I do. I had meetings on this item.
Commissioner LaCastro?
I have a meeting. Yes.
And I have no disclosure on this.
All right. If all participants could now stand and be sworn in by the court reporter, that's anybody that will be participating or giving testimony or public comment. Start with Mr. Posey, or start with the petitioner. All right.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. James Johnston with Schutz & Bowen, 300 South Orange Avenue in Orlando, on behalf of the applicant. And as mentioned, the request today is for a conditional use to permit the installation of a 150-foot tall monopole communication tower on property with the estate, future land use and zoning. Communication tower will be owned by Florida Power and Light with Verizon Wireless as the anchor licensee. The property is located at 191 Weber Boulevard North on an FP&L electric substation property, and that use, the substation use, will remain. Here is a picture, kind of 30,000 foot, with the property marked. And then we'll zoom in. This is the substation property. As you see, there's substantial trees and landscaping on the border of the substation property. And this is from Weber Road looking at the entrance. As you can see, it's fenced and gated entrance into the substation. The proposed communication tower is a 150-foot monopole tower. Monopole designs are generally recognized as having reduced visual impacts compared to other types of towers, including guide towers and lattice towers. This location abuts an existing electric substation, access from Weber Boulevard through that gated substation entrance I just showed you. It's designed to accommodate 2 additional providers to prevent communication tower proliferation in the area. Setback from the property lines, 84 feet to the north, 239 feet to the south, 445 feet to the east, and 449 feet to the west. As shown on the picture of the aerial of the substation, there is substantial landscaping along the property perimeter being used to meet the landscape buffer standards. And this tower, as mentioned, will be owned by FP&L and is designed to meet their transmission pole requirements, including wind loading. This is showing where the tower compound, tower and ground equipment will be located, utilizing the existing entrance and driveway of the substation. And the tower location, as mentioned, we're requesting a reduction in the separation from the north. There were certain constraints on the property that dictated the tower location, including stormwater ponds, electric transmission lines, certain separation requirements from the substation control house, a septic field, underground conduit, and conservation areas on the property. And so that's how we ended up where we are on the FP&L property. And as mentioned, that does require a reduced separation from the property to the north. But again, we think there's an existing mature tree canopy on the property providing the necessary buffer. And this location also provides direct access from the existing driveway as shown on this aerial. And this is just a close-up of the ground equipment area and the actual tower location with the access from the existing driveway. This is an elevation of the tower showing the monopole tower type with the Verizon's anchor antennas on the top, and then the 2 additional potential locations for future co-locations. And Verizon has a existing coverage and capacity gap in the area. They have received significant customer complaints. And the estates area is actually one of Verizon's top 10 areas in the state with coverage needs. And they are really, anxious to get, additional antennas and coverage in the area. The proposed height of 150 feet is necessary to resolve those coverage and capacity issues. The closest towers to this range in height from 125 feet to 190 feet. So what we're proposing is consistent and is permitted by the code. The closest existing tower is 1.8 miles away, and so there are no existing towers or structures in the search ring on which Verizon antennas can be located. And again, I know this is part of the code requirements, but you have to show that the antennas are required in the estates zoning district, and we have shown that in the application materials. And this site will significantly enhance coverage and capacity and result in major network performance improvements. And these are the RF coverage maps that were submitted. This is the before with the, as you can see, the red area is unreliable coverage. And then this is the after with the site providing improvement in the area. And then I think it's also worth noting the other, you can see on there, the other black dots are existing towers where Verizon antennas are located. And all these towers work together. So actually, this not only helps provide the coverage in that area, but also helps to offload the other sites and makes the overall system a better functioning system in the area. And this again is just showing the existing towers where Verizon is located, and that the closest one is 1.8 miles away. And so we think there are obviously great benefits to this proposed tower. It will improve the coverage and capacity in the area. Good wireless service is very important for public safety. Over 80% of all 911 calls are made from wireless devices. This will also help improve E911 Phase 2, which is how they identify where people are located when they're making 911 calls from wireless devices. It's sited on an existing electric substation site with existing fencing and mature tree canopy as a buffer. It's an unmanned facility, so minimal impact to public services, including road. Proximity to towers, we do not think impact property values. In fact, in today's age, we think most home buyers value quality wireless services when purchasing a home. And we think it's needed in this area with residential uses, and so we've located it, we think, in the appropriate spot on an existing electric substation site. So in conclusion, again, we think that this is a necessary tower in this area. It's necessary for Verizon to provide better service. The monopole type on an existing electric substation site is the best location for this in the area. We know you guys worked hard last year in adopting a new tower code to help expedite and get coverage improvements across the county. And we think this site is one of the examples of that code in action now as we're moving forward with with helping to improve the coverage in the area. Staff has recommended approval, and your Planning Commission also recommended approval unanimously. So again, we would just ask your consideration on approving this, and I've got others with me to help answer any questions you might have.
All right,
Thank
let's
you.
see if there are any questions from the commission. Commissioner McDaniel?
Yes, when I was reading the backup data, you're looking for a deviation for, I believe, the northern setback.
Correct.
Now, and do I also understand that the tower is built to a Cat 5 rating?
Correct. It's built, yes.
What happens if that Cat 5 rating fails? What happens if the pole happens to fall? Does it tip over?
Yeah, it is not, FP&L does not design their poles with an engineered break point because, one, they typically do not have poles that fail in wind events. And to have something with an engineered break point up against an electric substation where it could fall, into the substation, that is why they do not allow those engineered break points.
So what happens when it fails?
It's not designed to fail.
Okay. Do you have somebody here that can tell me what happens when it fails?
Let's assume for a second that we have a Category 6 storm, just for discussion purposes.
Right. Well, then I think, could it topple over? Yes, but then you're also talking about to the same extent, all electric transmission poles around the county also, because it's designed the same as those.
Here's let me give you the answer that I was looking for.
Yes.
It was represented to me that the pole collapses on itself. It doesn't fall over. And that was the answer that I was actually looking for. Is that, in fact, the case? If there is a structural failure, the pole will collapse on itself, so the deviation for the Northern Properties Protection isn't an issue. I mean, there is an issue because our code requires a deviation for the height or 50% of the height of the pole.
Right.
And so the pole collapses on itself. That was what was represented to me. Is that correct?
That is not correct for this pole because, again, this is an FP&L as a transmission pole, just like all their electric transmission poles. They do not have they don't have a design break point in them. So it is designed the same as a FP&L electric transmission pole.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you a
Yes.
question in that regard as well. If it does fail, if it does fall, and it falls in the direction of the north and hits someone else's property, I assume that FP&L is liable for that. You have insurance to cover that.
Absolutely.
That damages would be covered. You wouldn't expect the property owner that's damaged to.
Correct.
Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Chairman. So if I hear you correctly, then what you're stating is this particular design pole that FP&L uses over and over again, the same design or concept of building this type of pole, are typically the same ones you see along a street in a neighborhood?
Correct.
Okay, so so that pole would be within 75 feet of a home?
Correct.
Or a structure?
Correct.
And there's no limitation on that pole to be set along a roadway or a sidewalk?
No, and again, they're not, those aren't designed with break points. And I know what the commissioner was saying. I mean, typically when you have a standalone, tower, they can be designed with an engineered break point to keep a fall zone within a certain area. But again, because this is an FP&L pole and design pole, that's not, they do it like their transmission poles.
I guess what I'm getting at is if we have this Category 6 or 7 storm and a light pole that FP&L already provides, thousands of them in our community right now.
Correct.
Within a variance that could hit a house, that we don't have any regulation on that.
No.
No, because they typically don't fall over.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go to Commissioner Hall. I assume you don't have any questions?
He just put his hand up, sir.
Commissioner Hall.
Yes, I do. Thank you for the presentation. So I do have a question about, the Titanic couldn't sink and this pole won't fail. So what is the history of other poles similar to it in Category 5 storms? And, have you had any other failures? Because if the history shows that they're pretty successful, then that's going to make me feel a lot better.
Right, and yes, I mean, I'm not an FP&L representative, but I've been told by FP&L representatives that their transmission line poles have a very good history and do not fail in storms.
Does the history show that they've withstood the storm so far?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say, has a pole ever fallen? I don't know that, but again, that's why, because this is on an electric substation site, that is why they design it like a transmission pole and put it, without a break point, engineered break point. They treat it like their typical transmission line pole.
Is the pole concrete or is the pole steel?
I believe it is steel.
Do you have a FPL representative here that,
Don't think.
or anybody that can say, yes, it is steel as opposed to I believe?
I mean, I think it's in the plans, but it's a steel pole.
I mean, I would assume it's steel, but
Yeah.
just for the record, it sounds better to say it's steel as opposed
It's
to.
a steel pole.
All right. Before we go to the staff report, Commissioner McDaniel, you had some additional, or your name just disappeared, so is.
Yeah, I just took it away because
Okay.
Commissioner Hall actually made my point, and
All right.
it had to do with the Titanic.
All right. Let's go to the staff presentation.
Mike Bosey, Planning and Zoning Director, and not a very long presentation. Staff is reviewed the petition, recognized the one deviation that they are seeking. Staff is recommending approval. This was heard by the Planning Commission, unanimous recommendation that came from the Planning Commission. And just to let you know that this is a reflection of the updated telecommunication ordinance with the expanded opportunities within the estates. And traditionally, you would have had a variance petition as well as rolled in with this request, but because of the updates to the telecommunication ordinance, we've allowed these deviations to be from separations to be processed at the same time in a little more efficient manner. But with that, staff would, any questions that you may have regarding the
Commissioner McDaniel.
Yes, well, and it goes back to my prior question to the applicant. I'm not comfortable with this now. I was yesterday when I was informed that it collapsed on itself. I'm not comfortable with this now. And I'm not comfortable with cell towers at all costs to endanger a neighbor. This deviation, in the event that there is a Cat 6 or 7 or whatever, and this pole falls, it's fallen on somebody else's property. There's a terrible hole in Verizon's coverage right here. We all know that White Boulevard, Pine Ridge Road, 951 Collier Boulevard is, there's a hole in Verizon's coverage right there, but there certainly is suitable locations that aren't endangering the neighborhood.
And staff would recognize that this is an existing substation. Those individual transmission lines that run to that substation, they're designed under the same concept that they don't fall down. And there's no regulatory overlook or review of that. The traditional, I would say, the traditional cell tower that's proposed by an American Tower or Crown Castle or SBA, they normally do have the designed engineer points, but because of FP&L's in terms of protection of their substations, they designed them, as they've indicated, not to fall down. Right. And so, unfortunately, it's just it's a different variety of a telecommunication tower.
Do we happen to know how tall the transmission poles are that are there now?
I do not know that for a fact. I estimate probably about 60 to 75 feet.
Yeah, they're about half the size of this proposed tower.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. I just glanced at the drawing,
when he had it up there, but is there any wiggle room to move that pole further south and split the difference? So that if it does,
Let's get the petitioner back up here with that diagram and to address that issue.
So unfortunately, you see the substation, and if they have you see the circle, the radius around the building. They have a requirement for a 100-foot radius around their control building, where it cannot go within that radius. So
Is that a requirement of FPNL, or is that a state or federal requirement? Where does that requirement come from?
that is an FPNL requirement, and I don't know if that is a state requirement or if that is an FPNL internal requirement.
Theoretically, if it's a FPL requirement, then the tower could be moved.
I mean,
I think that's an important issue for you to address.
And I don't know if it would be easier, because we don't have an FPNL representative here, to push this to the next hearing and allow me to get with the FPNL representative based on some of the issues that have been raised.
Let's get back to Commissioner Hall, and I apologize for interrupting, but I wanted to see where that recommendation or requirement came from. And I will say that you may want to consider pushing this off for a couple of weeks as we go through this discussion, based on some comments. So, Commissioner Hall, you're recognized.
So thank you. So it would seem to me that FPL is concerned enough to protect their own building, and would put the homeowner at risk. So
I'm sorry, we're having a little
Stay by
trouble.
stay by the mic.
We're having a little trouble hearing you.
okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. So it would seem to me that FP&L has enough concern to protect their own building, but we would be willing to put the adjacent property at risk. And so until I can get the question answered, if there's wiggle room to get it out of there, I'm not going to be comfortable with it.
All right. So, Mr. Johnston, you've heard two commissioners. This
Right.
requires four.
Correct. So yes, we would like to request this get continued for
Let me
2 weeks so we can-
make a comment to the folks the public comment. This is going to be continued. If you want to make your comments made today, that'll be fine, but you will not be given an opportunity at the second hearing. So to avoid inconvenience to the public, if you want to make your comments today, you can do that, but we will close the public hearing. Otherwise, we'll continue the whole item until this comes back. So I guess by a show of hands, those that are speaking, do you have any problem with this being continued, or do you want to speak today? All right, then we'll entertain the request for continuance.
I'll make a motion for the continuance.
Second.
All right, so we'll continue this to the second meeting in February, is that?
Or can we just say maybe 2 meetings, just to make sure?
All right, first meeting in March?
Whatever's convenient.
Yeah.
We don't have to pick
When you're ready.
You have to pick a time certain?
Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid having to re-advertise.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that. When's the advertising time frame?
Give us just one moment, please, sir.
Mr. Bosey, you don't know that right off the top?
The first meeting in March 11th, I believe that's still within that 5-week window. So if we continue it to the March 11th meeting, we would not hit a requirement for
All
re-advertising.
right, Mr. Johnson, is that acceptable?
That is. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion, and do we have a second? I'll second that. We have a motion and second to continue. Oh, I'm sorry. We have a motion and second to continue this until the March 11th. Is that what you said? Meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Passed unanimously. All right.
Commissioners, that brings us to item 11A. This is a recommendation to approve and authorize the chairman to execute franchise agreements for solid waste, recyclable materials, and yard trash collection services with Waste Management, Inc. of Florida and Waste Pro of Florida, Inc., with commencement dates of October 1st, 2027 at an average estimated amount of $32 million per fiscal year for the first period of 7 years, and with 2 7-year renewal options, and authorize the chairman to sign the attached agreement agreements for continuation of existing best value services. Your Director of Solid Waste, Ms. Carrie Hoxton, is here to present.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Carrie Hodson, your Director for Solid and Hazardous Waste. I'm here today to recommend approval for franchise agreements to provide solid waste, recycling, and yard waste collection. Here today also are representatives from Waste Management and Waste Pro. I have prepared a presentation that, in the best interest of the public, I'd like to present, if that's okay with you.
I think it's appropriate to present that because I've had some telephone calls from other parties that have an interest in this. So I think we need to have the full
And
presentation.
especially about those people from Waste Pro.
Understood. All right. With that, Commissioners, as I mentioned, I'm here to recommend approval for franchisee agreements for solid waste, recycling, and yard waste collections. The agreement will commence on October 1st, 2027. The average estimated annual cost of the contract will be $32 million per year for the first term of the contract, and the contract includes 2 7-year renewal options. Little timeline of why we are here today. These contracts sunset on September 30th of 2027, and in order to ensure continuity of the services that are absolutely essential to public health, we tasked a consultant, and based on their findings of a benchmark analysis, we came to the board and requested authorization to negotiate. We appreciate the board's support to authorize staff to negotiate. I'd also like to thank the County Manager's Office, Dr. George Yilmaz, our Public Utilities Department Head, as well as other members of the negotiation team that assisted and supported me in this, from the County Attorney's Office, as well as financial experts and industry experts. So what will our customers experience? Our customers will experience absolutely no changes when this contract goes into effect on October 1st of 2027. Their routes will not change, and the same service levels that they've experienced for the last 20 years will remain. That is twice-a-week collection of garbage, once-a-week collection of recycling, yard waste, and bulk materials. When going into negotiations, we performed just as we did before. We sought approval to negotiate. We did extensive benchmarking. We conducted market analysis and analyzed key attributes that make this contract the best value for the customers and for Collier County. When we benchmarked, we found that most counties entering into long-term agreements were seeing rate increases on average of $8 a unit per month. At the end of the negotiations, we ended with a $5 increase for a higher level of service. Given that Collier County remains the lowest cost for the highest level of service, this makes this a best value service contract for garbage collection, which continues to serve our customers and highlight as a hallmark contract for a performance-based service. To highlight the benefit to our customers, as we build out the SRAs, we will have bear-resistant containers available to those customers. We remain very quick action. I should say our contractors remain very quick actions. After a hurricane, when we have all those power losses and everybody has to throw away their fridge, it's these contractors who pick up all that food waste. Our contract includes all-inclusive recycling process. That's a major and unique component to Collier County, and it's what makes Collier County 1 out of 3 counties that reaches the state goal for recycling. Some of the financial benefits, we negotiated a lower consumer price index, saving millions over the term compared to other consumer price indexes that were requested. And we maintain the lowest commercial rates and the lowest residential rate amongst benchmark counties. With that, Commissioners, it's my recommendation to approve franchise agreements for solid waste recycling and yard waste collection services, and I'm available for any questions that you might have.
All right, Commissioner McDaniel.
I would like to make a motion for approval.
Let's hang on just a second. Let's see if there's any comments from the board, and then we'll go to a motion. Just okay, because it may impact whether you're going to make the motion or not. So, Commissioner Hall, do you have some questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question for Carrie.
Sure.
I know that there has been questions asked me with the constituents of is twice a week absolutely necessary to collect the garbage? I know from just my household that I could live with once a week because rarely do I ever take it out there on the second day. Not to say just to knock it out completely, but has there been any study done or any attention paid to maybe there are areas that twice a week's not required, where other areas where more families are where twice a week is required? It was just, I'm just curious as of it.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to answer that question. So in Collier County, we have a population that includes tourism, and being able to provide twice a week collection for not knowing when people are coming and going is very valuable to preserving our paradise here. So when we look at actually who utilizes that second garbage collection, we found that 75% of our customer base does. If we didn't have that second week collection, there could be issues related to HOA storage, public health issues of overflowing garbage cans. So again, it's a major attribute to what keeps Collier County paradise-like. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Hall?
Yes, ma'am, and thank you. No, I
Sure.
get it. But I still got Resource X in the back of my brain going ding, 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 ding. So just looking for opportunities maybe to save some money, but no, it's satisfactory. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? I think we do have some public comment, and then we'll go to our discussion.
Well, you want to go to public comment?
Yeah, let's go to public comment, and then we'll wrap it up.
We have 2 registered speakers. Your first speaker is Wayne Zahn, and he will be followed by Jay Colhagen.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. My name is Wayne Zahn. I represent Coastal Waste and Recycling. Coastal Waste is a regional waste services company which employs more than 1,600 employees. We operate 42 facilities and run over 900 collection trucks in Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. I come before you with a simple but crucial request. Do not approve this agenda item without first soliciting competitive bids. This is not just about dollars and cents. It's about accountability, transparency, and serving the best interests of the county residents. Government contracts should be awarded through a fair and open process, not handed out without competition. When we fail to seek bids from multiple vendors, we risk overpaying for services, lowering quality, and missing out on innovative solutions that may better serve our community. Without competition, how can we be sure the taxpayers are getting the best value for their hard-earned money? Soliciting bids is a standard practice. A no-bid contract sends the message that Collier County is willing to forgo due diligence and transparency. This is not the kind of leadership Collier County deserves. If the current vendors are truly the best options, then they should have no problem improving that in a competitive bid. I urge you to take a step back and do what is right. Please vote no on this agenda item and direct the staff to enter into a competitive bid process, evaluate all the options carefully, and show the people of Collier County that their government is committed to fairness, fiscal responsibility, and transparency. The citizens need to be certain that the $32 million a year price tag spent on this contract provides them with the best services at the lowest cost. In addition, there's still 2.5 years remaining on the existing service contracts that are in place. That is more than enough time to solicit a competitive bid, review responses, make an award, and have a successful transition of service if the contract is awarded to somebody other than the current providers. Thank you.
Your next and final speaker on this item is Jay Colhagen.
Yeah, stakeholder Jay Collier, for the record here. Yeah, Wayne hit everything there. I mean, you got to put it out for bid. That's a crazy amount of money there that we need to make sure that other people get a chance at it. Thank you.
All right, no other public comments. Ms. Hodgson, you have any comment in response to that?
No, I appreciate the opportunity, Commissioner. As mentioned, we had analysis done of the market to see what other counties were doing, to see what prices they were getting. And I go back to here. Collier County has the highest level of service for the lowest cost. That's our goal as being responsible stewards for our community, for our customers. That's also why we engaged with industry experts as well as financial experts in these negotiations to ensure that Collier County, again, maintained the lowest prices for the highest value.
Commissioner McDaniel.
Yeah, well, then I come back around to, I complimented you yesterday when we were speaking with regard to negotiating an agreement well in advance of the expiration of the contract, because that's not usually what happens. A lot of times we're after the fact coming in here and trying to plug a hole. But I wasn't aware that we didn't go through open bid process. Why did we make that decision?
Sure, and if I could go back to our timeline here. So when we're required 2 years in advance for the contract expiring to obtain and secure, because again, this is a public health service contract. We do not want to be out without garbage collection services. So 2 years prior to the expiration, we conducted a market analysis test, again, a industry expert. And based on their findings and recommendation report, that's what we brought to you in August, where to request authorization to negotiate. And that's why we negotiated.
Under the existing contract that we have with Waste Management, we're required to negotiate in advance of the 2 years before the expiration, or is that an internal policy that we have?
That's in the contract. It is also best management practices. You can see here with some of these benchmark contracts, some of these were negotiated 2 years prior. As a matter of fact, Sarasota's was negotiated last year or awarded last year, and it will not go into effect until March of this year. So it is standard best practices in the solid waste management industry. Because again, it's a very public health-facing service that nobody wants to be without garbage collection.
We're certainly not suggesting that we go without trash collection, that's for sure. I'm still going to make my motion for approval.
All right.
And then I have a comment after.
All right, we have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I think my comment on the motion is that one of the things that I'm very pleased about is that in the 8 years I've served on this board, I've not gotten a single complaint about garbage collection. And people will complain rather quickly if there's a solid waste collection problem. So there's absolutely, in my opinion, no issues in terms of the quality of the service. Now, the pricing, I have no way of knowing whether, I've got your chart. I have no idea whether the $32 million is too much or just right. So I'm still a little concerned about that, but we'll perhaps talk more about that. Any other comments from the board?
Only to the extent, and I recommend if you have not at all and or recently visited our landfill, schedule an appointment and go see that operation, see the operation, see how everything's in fact going. The improvements that we made simply just to the waste station alone for the intake, it's really quite an amazing operation.
Commissioner LaCastro.
Thank you, Chairman. I think there are some contracts across the county that we need to make sure are more competitive and that we put out for proposal, and we don't just sort of, stay with the same person just out of convenience. But then much like the contract we have for hurricane pickup, for aggressive things, beach restoration, and things that are they fall in a little bit of a different category. I think that's why you have these line items in these contracts to say, hey, before we throw something out for bid, if we have somebody that's giving us the approved solution at an extremely competitive rate, we reserve the right to at least be able to negotiate. And if we come to something, then we don't have a break in service. I wouldn't want that for all contracts, but I second the motion because similar to what's been set up here, the track record of performance, the cost compared to other counties. I think this is one where we want to secure a much longer contract, just like we did the exact same thing after Hurricane Ian with the people who did our hurricane cleanup. We wanted to make sure we didn't lose that company to someone else, and also we renegotiated something very competitive. So, it's not out of the norm, like you said, when it comes to public health, safety, things like that. Those contracts fall in a little bit of a different category. So, I have no reservations seconding the motion.
Commissioner Colwell.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, I got the chart in front of me, and I can only assume that these are accurate numbers, and these are similar counties to ours, and some are more populated, but of course this goes to the individual trash collected, the pricing. No disrespect to the gentleman that came to the podium, but I don't know if their company services any of these other counties, but it appears that we provide a service just as good or better at a lower price right now. And so I don't know where the wiggle room would be that somebody would come in at a lower price if I don't see the evidence that it even exists anywhere else. So I don't see that we're, and I can understand the public health side of it, that you don't want to be behind the 8 ball and at the last minute scrambling to get somebody else's operation in here to replace one that's already been working. So, I don't know if the other people in the industry are aware of that and should be soliciting 2 years out when they know contracts are coming up, but not, talk about got 2 years to figure it out, because evidently we don't, if we want to be moving in the right direction. So I'm going to support.
And just one quick question.
Sure.
I think you indicated that in August, we authorized you to negotiate.
October.
Was it October? We
Yes, sir.
authorized you to negotiate. So if we were going to make a decision to competitively bid, we should have done that in October. If we did that, then you would have had time. So that, I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's just that we made that decision in October. And so I'm going to support the motion as well. Commissioner McDaniel, you have any additional?
One quick question, and you brought up a really good point. Well, I mean, we're the elected complaint department, that if there is an issue, we're the ones that get the phone call. And just for edification purposes, if you did say it, please repeat. How many trash collections do we do a day?
46,000 garbage alone, residential pickups a day are performed by these contractors. And I appreciate the sentiment of the little complaint rate. Again, if we have something that's broke, don't fix it. We have an amazing contract in place. It's a performance-driven contract, and that's why you, as the elected complaint department, do not receive many complaints.
And on that note, I made a smart comment at the beginning about my friends at Waste Pro over in Immokalee, and they also do an amazing job taking care of our community. Have stepped up multiple times on the enhanced cleanups that we're doing over in Immokalee for the cleanliness of our community at large. So.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Commissioners, that brings us to item 11B, formerly 16A7. This is a recommendation to approve an agreement for sale and purchase under the Conservation Collier Land Acquisition Program with one Don Charles Decotu, Andrea Hugg, now known as Andrea Elaine Mulanix, and Donna Ruth Discoto, for a 1.14 acre parcel at a cost of $25,100, and two Monica Cecile Fish for a 1.14 acre parcel at a cost of $36,480, for a total cost not to exceed $64,640, inclusive of closing costs. This item is brought to the agenda at Commissioner McDaniel's request.
Commissioner McDaniel, you have a specific question? Or?
I do, and I have to talk to you, Mr. Chair, because this is our first meeting with you running the show, so I'm trying to get used to your adjustments. I don't have specific issues with this particular agenda item, but I did a little research last night. So what I would like to do is move the approval of this particular agenda item so that we can then have a brief discussion about conservation Collier acquisitions in these two particular preserve areas at all, if we may do that.
Sure.
Because I have no issue with these two transactions except for the methodology that Conservation Collier is using for these acquisitions. And I'd like to bring that to light if I may. So if you want to expedite things, we can. I'll make a motion for approval of this particular agenda item, or would you like me to bring up my points first?
Go ahead and bring up your points.
Okay.
We're going to be wrapping this meeting up, I think, fairly quickly.
Okay.
So.
I'll endeavor to move forward. it is my suggestion that after we approve these two particular agenda items in the Gore Preserve and the Panther Walk, that we discontinue or not approve any purchases in these two particular areas until we adjust the methodologies that Conservation Collier is using. Last night, after my one-on-one meetings with my staff, I had a little bit of time, and so I dove into, and if you haven't investigated, have a look at the methodologies that are utilized. When we read these agenda items, the two properties in the executive summary are stipulated that we're buying them at the 100% of the appraised price, which seems like it's okay. Then I actually went and read the appraisals. There were mass averaged appraisals done in both the Panther Walk Preserve and the Gore Preserve on a percentage of environmentally sensitive or wetland areas. Am I correct in that?
You are, sir.
Okay. And did you write that down that she said I was correct? Okay. And so, and it's based upon a percentage of environmentally sensitive areas within the acreages that are there. Then I read the appraisals, and the appraisals for the Panther Walk Preserve, I believe, were done with comparable sales that were from 21 and 22, effectively 3 to 4 years ago.
Flipped. The Gore property was.
Forgive me.
And I did find out why, if you want to go down that road.
No, we don't have to for right now. The data that was used for the analysis was aged, number one. Number two, both appraisers on both the Gore Preserve and the Panther Walk Preserve chose to not use a cost approach in the analysis for the valuations of the properties. And so no consideration was given to a mitigation expense that is necessary if somebody else buys a piece of property in one of these areas. So what we have done as a government is we have gone out and established these TPAs, target protection areas. And here's an environmentally sensitive area of land. We wish to buy properties here. These are open to the public to be purchased, and we all know that you can build a home virtually in the middle of a cypress head if you pay enough money in mitigation to whack the cypress trees in order to build your home. You almost, it's just a matter of money. So we've delineated these areas. Then I was reading the analysis that was done on the 8 comparables for the Panther Walk Preserve, and the fourth one down was a listing price by a realtor for a piece of property in the Panther Preserve that stipulated a $54,000 asking price for the piece of property. And the realtor, when questioned about that price, said, quote, "That's a firm price because the county's going to come real soon and buy the land." No consideration is given to a private sector purchaser to come buy that piece of property and then have to mitigate any of the environmental concerns. So my suggestion is that for the near future, until I bring forward, and I'm going to bring forward a revision to the purchasing processes so that we are attributing a true valuation for these environmental or for these pieces of property, that we discontinue the acquisitions in these properties. I read several of the notes in the appraisals and the comparable sales that were utilized that showed the property had recently been purchased within the last couple of years for 1/3 of the now current asking prices. So I have a sniff that there's something else going on where people are taking advantage of a known area where we want to buy property for and on behalf of Conservation Collier, and then we, on behalf of Conservation Collier, are using an appraisal methodology that isn't accurate at all. They're not able to come up with comparables in these areas because the only people that have bought property in these specific areas are Conservation Collier. So we need to go outside of those areas, and then we need to add in the cost approach with regard to the mitigation expense. So my suggestion is, going forward, that individual appraisals are done on every single piece of property that's brought before us to get a true comparison as to what the real market value in fact is.
All right, Commissioner Hall, you have some comments or questions?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I totally concur with Commissioner McDaniel. I've said repeatedly in the past that we are creating our own comps. And the market is, with the example of the one realtor saying the price is firm, says it all. I am not going to support this agenda item, not because I don't want to buy conservation land. I would love to buy conservation land. I am not pleased at all of the price that we're going to pay for them. We're $9,000 and $11,000 on two of these items over what the appraisal is. And I think if we go back to the sellers and say, you know what, we're not going to do that, it was not approved until you get real on your price, I think that we would be able to purchase those at a reasonable level and a fair level. I think that we're being used based on the amount of property that we have acquired. And I totally concur with Commissioner McDaniel of changing how we do this and what we're looking at, including subtracting the mitigation cost for anyone to come in there and build on.
All right, Commissioner McDaniel, you have something else?
I really do. I do. And I thank Commissioner Hall for agreeing with me in part. The only deviation or the only difference in opinion that he and I have particularly is Conservation Collier and our staff are using the system that we have in place. We need to fix the system. The system allows us to buy these pieces of property and allows our staff to go forward. We've negotiated in good faith with these sellers for these prices, for what we're in fact paying for these two particular pieces of property. So I wouldn't, personally, I'm not going to reject the offers that have been brought forward to us today, but I am going to ask that we discontinue these acquisitions until we fix that system.
All right, let's do this in two pieces then. We'll take a motion on the specific agenda item to approve or disapprove that. And then when we conclude that, regardless of the outcome, we'll entertain a motion to reevaluate the appraisal process going forward and to hold off on additional purchases in this area until that process is determined.
I did see that we're getting 18,000 for that one piece in the Panther Preserve from another NGO. Did I see that?
Correct. The Wildlife Corridor Foundation is contributing half of the Panther Walk property cost.
All right, so let's see if there's a motion on the agenda item.
I'll make a motion for approval on the agenda. I pulled it just to have this discussion, so I'll make a motion for approval on the agenda item.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, passes 4-1. And then Commissioner McDaniel, you're recognized on the additional motion.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And I'd like to make a motion that we discontinue any acquisitions in these two, basically in any of the TPAs that we have designated with aggregate land masses, that it's a known public acquisition area for and until we fix the system. Is that clear enough to, did you tell me there are 4?
There are currently 4 multi-parcel projects, yes.
Yes. And so I suggest that we discontinue those acquisitions until we can make revisions to the purchasing process.
Right, I don't have an issue with the concept, but I don't want it to drag out to a point where we're not acquiring property for 6 months or 8 months while this process plays out. So I would prefer, as on the motion, I'll ask if you'll consider, let's put a time frame on that, withholding any purchases in those TPAs for a specific period of time while staff comes back. So let's.
First meeting, I can do it by the first meeting in March. I can have the revisions to the purchasing ordinance.
Well, then let's add that as an agenda item, first meeting in March. to revise the appraisal process, and until then, not to enter into any acquisition contracts under the old processing prior to that date. All right? Is that
Understood.
clear?
Yes.
All right. I'm not sure I understood it. I said it.
It
All right.
was as clear as mud.
All right. Any discussion on the motion then?
I was just going to add, maybe for semantics, instead of saying the word discontinue, especially since we're putting a time frame, we're putting a pause, because the word discontinue will get thrown out there that the commissioners all just voted unanimously to discontinue Conservation Collier, and that'll be on the front page of every newspaper in about 30 minutes. So I like the time frame, and we're putting a pause on it to further improve the program with Commissioner McDaniel and all of our support to tighten things. So,
Commissioner Daniel, I assume you have no problem with using the word pause.
No, I'd be happy to use the word pause because words matter.
And by the way, there are no local newspapers that report things right away. So. Commissioner Hall.
I'm good. I'm good with it all. Thanks.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a couple weeks.
See you in a couple minutes.
Couple minutes?
Commissioners, that brings us to item 15, Staff and Commission General Communications. Item 15A is public comments on general topics not on the current or future agenda by individuals not already heard during previous public comments in this meeting.
We have no additional speakers at this time.
All right.
We do not have any staff project updates for item 15B, so that brings us to item 15C, Staff and Commission General Communications. I do have one item. We have a workshop planned for the first Tuesday in March. It was originally planned to be the mental health workshop in the morning, followed by strategic planning, solid waste, and a couple of other topics in the afternoon. The David Lawrence representatives have asked for that workshop to be moved. They need a little bit more time, so we're looking for an appropriate date in April potentially, or the beginning of May. So that having been said, the morning session will now be what we were planning to do in the afternoon. We'll have the workshop, but we'll just move our afternoon topics up to the morning.
we'll still have something at 9 a.m. It'll be
Yes.
a much.
It just won't be mental health, and it's going to be, half day or maybe a little bit more if we really get into discussion versus a full day workshop and split amongst topics.
All right, if you can make sure that our aides know the date and that change.
Yep, yes, sir. Other than that, I have nothing else. County Attorney.
Nothing else today.
All right, Commissioner Kowal, anything for the good of the order?
No, I think we're good. I just like to correct Commissioner McDaniel. This is your second meeting as the chair.
I was going to correct him at some point.
I know. I was holding the two over here.
I was going to do it in private because I didn't want to embarrass him in public, but.
I had two people say I was right today, and you have to.
We can't let you get away with that.
Dang it.
And I'm going to make sure we correct the minutes at the next meeting. Commissioner McDaniel.
Yes, thank you, sir. I have one happy. You gentlemen supported a move that I put forth last year to rename a road over in Immokalee and from Eustis West to Howard Way. I had an opportunity to shake Mr. Howard's hand, see him in person. The family showed up. It was an amazing event. We had some technological issues, and I don't know if it was just because I was speaking, but the microphone chose to quit working while I was talking. And so I lost my focus, but I really want to recognize Christy Benacourt. She did a yeoman's job to bring that all together and help organize it and put it with our Immokalee High School, the ROTC. It was just a phenomenal event, and I just want to thank all of you for allowing me that opportunity to honor a great citizen of our community.
Commissioner Castro.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to thank Mr. French and his team, Jimmy Cook, all of Parks and Recreation. We're going to reopen CAC Sambus on this Saturday, February 15th. So a lot of the news that's been out there over the last 2 years that, the county hasn't done anything and people that actually live in condos that oversee CAC-SAMBUS send me notes and say, I've seen no activity out there for 2 years. Well, Mr. French and I and our whole team and all of Marco leadership were out at CAC-SAMBUS again late last week. It's a brand new marina, brand new park, the amount of work that's gone into it. And those who and Mr. French's team that really shook the trees to get grant money and FEMA money and all the things that save our county taxpayer dollars has really been heroic. So the place looks basically brand new. It's a popular marina, popular park. Can't make it any bigger. So people that say, we're all idiots, we need to add more parking, we need to add this, we'll have to tear down 2 condominiums that are adjacent to the park if we're going to do that. So obviously that's not going to happen. But the park looks beautiful. And no, it's not perfect. We still have some issues with bringing gas out there for boaters and some other things. But there's some other things in our county that took big hits during Hurricane Irma that haven't been brought back online. Simultaneous to that, because we have the money now, we have the crews, we have the wherewithal, it's time to attack some of these marinas that have been neglected for a while and or who took major hits during many of these storms. And the Collier Boulevard, we kind of usually call it the 951 boat launch. I wouldn't say it's a marina. That will close on the 18th. Well, it's actually, I think, closed now. I saw some cones out there. But you could tell you're getting ready to close it. But that's another one that's going to go through a complete overhaul from redoing the boat ramp, the seawalls that are practically falling into the water, maybe repaving the parking lot. So there'll be a lot of great work there. We're still on the 18th. Is it still on the 18th?
Thank you,
Jamie?
Commissioner. For the record, I'm Jamie French with the Department Head for Growth Management and Community Development. Yes, sir. The 18th is the scheduled date. We'll already start canvassing the area because we recognize that we have quite a bit of overnight kind of camping launches that go on from that 951 boat ramp. The facility has been shored up. It's certainly gone through multiple events with regards to the weather and the contractor. And I just really got to give credit to Brian Deloney over at Facilities Management. He's really spearheaded a lot of this. The contractor has agreed to hold their prices. They've held them for better than 6 months. If we had to rebid that 951 boat ramp, it would be exponentially higher, and it would push back that construction date. Our guess is somewhere between 8 and 10 months. And we're fearful going into this next storm season. Although it's certainly been shored up, we certainly we think that it is, we don't ever want to be considered derelict of duty by not addressing these safety concerns. So that will be a new seawall. There's a great deal of riprap in there. Good news is that it should be a short-term project. The boat launch itself, the ramp, will also be replaced. We'll be going through there looking at the reticuline grates that are currently in there. We saw a lot of rot from salt water. Probably needs to be stainless steel, but although James Williams, our Parks Director, would like one for his barbecue, we're going to make sure that they're chained down because other people would love them for a big barbecue too. They're quite expensive, especially when you're dealing with some stainless steel options. With regards to CAC-SAMBUS, we did have a meeting yesterday with the Marco Island Police Chief. We will have 3 rangers that'll be floating through there. One will be there all the time. We will be writing traffic tickets or illegal parking tickets. That is a recreational boat launch. The city of Marco has weighed in. They are the authority having jurisdiction, and they have said outside of our retail operations that we have there, there is to be 0 commercial activity. It's zoned for recreational boaters. It's a park. It is not a commercial marina. And so with the gas, we have looked at that. Ms. Cook has looked at that. I think she just told me, I think there's 7 gas stations on the way there from US 41 and 951 from that corner. And we are limited on our footprint. And very rarely have we ever seen, certainly in our career, where we're doing retail sales from the back of a truck for fuel. And on top of which it certainly is a very consolidated site, not a whole lot of room. We would most likely have to sacrifice quite a few of our parking spaces or boat launch spaces in order to put some sort of temporary fueling in there. Now, we're still looking into it. We are subject to the permitting rules of the state of Florida through the Department of Agriculture with regards to retail fuel sales, and then we would also have to talk with the state with regards to our submerged land lease on how we would do that. So that permitting process, although we'd love them to be more like Collier County, we believe that if they tell us 60 days, it could very well be 3 to 4 months before we'd be able to get through that permitting process. And by the way, a 5,000-gallon permanent fuel facility is scheduled to be installed and operational by the first of the year is our target date. So that is already underway, and I know Commissioner LaCastro, you've certainly communicated that with your constituent base through your newsletters, and we presented it to the board and our project schedules. But it was a two-phase approach. You're dealing with two different types of petroleum contractor as well as a seawall and dock contractor. They both can't be in that small space at the same time. So the boat launch was the most important thing. The bulkheads, the seawalls, all of that has been replaced. And we're also looking at we're finishing up some build-out work on the interior of the shop. The vendor is all slated to go. She's told us that she'll be ready to open, and she understands that it's absent fuel, but by her contract for the first 60 days, she's really there to provide a service. There's no charge to her as far as rent or a percentage of her business, so that way it helps her get established. But we do know that the county marks up the fuel 8%, and then her overall markup, I think, is around 12%, so she picks up the differential. That is a big moneymaker for her and also for the county to repay for those assets over time. So it's not cheap fuel. You can certainly get a better cost if you stop at Racetrack and got the marine-grade fuel on your way there. But we also know that it would certainly service the neighboring residents. However, Rosemarine is on the other side of the island. We know Walker is there, Calusa is there, all within probably 15, 20-minute boat ride away, where if you're on the water all the time and you're not taking fuel service delivery, you can certainly buy fuel there.
Yeah, I appreciate those details because there is some misinformation out there that, folks are saying, oh, they forgot about the fuel. But as you said, the fuel is a totally different animal. Having both contractors out there doing the work wasn't possible. The underground fuel tank that was supplying fuel to Caxambas was significantly compromised due to the storm. So we spent quite a bit of time out there going through all that and had the fire team out there. So, more to follow on that. Lastly, I just wanted to remind my fellow commissioners that there's a NIM, Neighborhood Information Meeting for Costco on Tuesday, February 18th. So, that's been aggressively, advertised. There's a lot of pro and con against Costco, and that NIM will hopefully separate rumor from fact. It's at a large location where the Swamp Buggy races used to be. I've talked with the staff to make sure that, we have staff out there. The NIM is between, as we know, citizens and the applicant. It's not really run by the county staff. We don't attend those type things, but we're going to have some people out there because this is an issue, pro and con, that people are very interested in. I just hope the citizens that come, realize if they storm the castle and they think, an aggressive showing at the NIM, either pro or con, somehow sways the direction or the non-direction of any project. That's not. We've seen successful NIMs and unsuccessful ones, and what this should be is a mature and professional exchange of ideas and pushback, feedback between citizens and the applicant, and then it allows the applicant to go back and sort of rethink things possibly, maybe make changes, end the project, move forward with the project. We don't know, but I appreciate all the work that the county staff has put into that, and we'll get feedback, I'm sure, the next day or that night. But that's all I have. Thank you, gentlemen.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. So I just have one small request for staff, and it has to do with just a short, sweet, and simple message for, just something like for when Wiggins Pass opens up. I'm sure that we get the formal one-way communications or something like that comes across, but to be honest, if it doesn't just say Wiggins Pass is opening, I'm not reading into the details. So just something to our executive coordinators or our aides that just says, hey, Wiggins Pass is opening up Tuesday, whatever, or Kanzak, however you say it.
that's opening up, next Tuesday. Just something that so that we can, or we have a red tide alert at one beach. Just something that we can coordinate and communicate to all of the residents that be here. Because a lot of times I find out about these things from the residents, or from Facebook, or from something else. So just something short, something sweet, something in my face so that I can say, "Oh, that's good," and we'll share the news.
Okay. Let the record reflect that the county manager is nodding in the affirmative on that request.
Thank you.
All right. I don't have anything to add for the good of the order. If there's nothing else,
Commissioner, I'm sorry, if I may, I actually just received an email about the enactment of a burn ban. So we have received notification from the Collier County Fire Chiefs in consultation with the Forest Service recommending that we enact a burn ban due to the weather conditions that are exacerbated by severe drought values. So we'll I wanted to advise you, and we'll take the necessary steps to notify the public and enact that burn ban. So we have the authority to put it into effect, and we'll come back and ratify it or whatever steps we need to take.
Mr. Klatzkow, in terms of agenda items and things like that, is that something that we could simply do right now? We have the authority we have the request, we have I guess the weather conditions justify it. Do we need to delay that, or can we just go ahead and do it?
No, you've got the discretion to allow the county manager to do what needs to be done.
All right. Is there any desire on the board just to simply give the manager the opportunity or the authority to issue the burn ban today?
We already have, but in lieu of her having to bring it back and us ratify it, let's just ratify. I'll make a motion to authorize her to enact it today.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion, which basically gives the county manager the ability to issue the burn ban effective immediately? All right. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
All right. And again, I have nothing to add to the discussion, so we are adjourned.